everybody, and welcome back to the Bene channel. I am really happy to have our guest, Brother John Eustice, with us today. Brother John is a Viatorian brother, and he currently serves at the Saint Viator High School. Brother John, thank you so much for being here with us today.
You're welcome. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Brother John, I would like to ask this question. So I know you're a Viatorian brother, and can you tell us a little bit about what drew you to that? And also, what is a brother? What is a
Yeah,
Catholic?
that's a really good question. A lot of people have that. What the heck is a brother? One of the generic ways I tend to say it is, well, I'm like a nun, but I'm a guy. But that's kind of different. But what a religious brother is a person who is part of a religious order or congregation that, like for us, the Viatorians, we have brothers and priests. Some groups have just priests, some have just brothers, and we're a combination. So our main identity is to try to live out the gospel the best we can in terms of living in community with one another. So I do take the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, and then we're able to better serve the gospel that way.
That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing. And I know you work with high school students. You try and educate them in nonviolence. And I was wondering if you could also share some about that, because that's really important work.
Yes, it is. Nonviolence is a part of Catholic social teaching that is one of the best kept secrets, unfortunately. And even among very active Catholic social teaching people. And working with teenagers, as I have been doing for the past 2 decades, it's an area that I am very passionate about, but also an area I realize that we need to educate people on. So I'll give you a short example of this. This last fall, our students, several of them, we actually have a group called the Justice League, not the movie, but actually people who are here looking at justice issues and wanting to stand up. We have kids from freshman through senior year who are passionate about that. And they look at all different aspects of it, the environment, racism, LGBTQ plus rights, all of that kind of stuff. They are very much in tune with and want to stand up for it. So this fall, they were saying, we want to do a protest against racism for sure. And so we went into, I guess I'm the resident expert on this for some reason, but none of them have really ever participated in any sort of action, and including their moderator. And the moderator is an adult here. So it was going through a process of, okay, first of all, how do we plan an event such as this? And so for teens, they were saying, hey, we're seeing on the news, people are going out and protesting, we want to go out and protest. And so I tried to help bring them back through a step-by-step process of, okay, what is the purpose for you to go out? This is one of the tenets of nonviolence, is we need to know why we're doing what we're doing. And then we also need to know what could some of the ramifications be. And if there is reactions to what we're doing in nonviolent action, what is our plan to deal with that? And then also being an adult in a school with teenagers in a area of the northwest suburbs of Chicago, Arlington Heights, which tends to be a more privileged area, a more white privileged area. If we're holding signs and everything along the side of the road, we're going to get some reactions. I just know that because I've been out on these corners before holding signs. So getting our young people to think through step by step what could happen. And it was frustrating for them because it sounded like, oh, you're just trying to say we can't do this. I was like, no, I'm not saying that. I am saying that we need to think through all the possibilities so your safety is at the forefront. So I am an administrator. I'm the vice president of Viatorian Identity and Mission. So I represent not only the school, I represent the Viatorians. I also help represent the Catholic Church for these young people. So it's really important that no matter what we do with young people, especially looking at nonviolence, is understanding our actions and how that nonviolence has to work through every piece of the planning. And that can be frustrating for the young people who want to be doing this. But we were finally able to get to a part where we were successful. We lined up on a busy street. There were other Viatorians who don't work at the school, but it was in front of our province center, which is next door to the high school. And like, for example, Father Charlie, the 82-year-old, comes out with his cane and is holding a sign with us. I'm there. Father Corey Brose shows up with his Black Lives Matter mask. We're all white, but that's okay. And we're there in support of our students. But even so, by doing this action and getting a lot of honks of support, but also some one-fingered peace signs, if you know what I mean. Afterwards, one of the most important things that we can do with young people, or any person for that matter, but in this area, one of the most important things we can do after any action or after any form of service that we do, or anything that you do in terms of living out the gospel in various ways, you need to sit down and debrief and break it down and look at, okay, what did you experience? Where was God a part of the experience? Where were the difficulties in the experience? Is there anything from scripture or from our tradition that tells us about this? And what are the systems that are in place that that cause us to be needing to go out there and do this, whether it's service or protesting or demonstrating or prayer vigil or whatever. It's so important to have that dialogue with the students, because otherwise it just comes into, oh, I held a sign once, or I went to a soup kitchen once. No, it's, I did this out of what my faith teaches me to do. And I was actually able to see, as we say in the Catholic tradition, I was able to see Christ through what I was doing, and then hopefully others were able to experience Christ through me being there.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for your amazing work. Both of my parents are teachers, so I know
Oh,
how
good.
important it is. And also, I was wondering, I was about this question. So, Pope Francis has called on all Catholics to pay attention to some justice issues of today, for instance, nonviolence, nuclear weapons. I know that you've been really active in getting people to understand this connection. As you were saying, the best kept secret of nonviolence, and that you've been an activist for these issues. So, can you tell me some about how you got involved in that?
Yeah, so again, I'll come from the perspective of working with teenagers. Whenever they're asking me about being a brother and everything, or about how I've lived out the gospel in different ways or different times, especially in our discipleship class, which looks at people like Dorothy Day or Martin Luther King or Cesar Chavez or Oscar Romero or whoever. They're looking at people who have taken the Christian faith tradition, or Gandhi for that matter, so not just Christian, but have put faith into action. So one of the things I let them know is I've been arrested twice. And again, in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, that can be a shocking thing to hear. And in my Bible, I have a Bible cover, and there I keep the 2 citations of arrest there. Actually, I was with, both times I was with Brian Hall, the executive director of Bene, and a bunch of our friends. And I lived in Nevada. I was at UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And I grew up there I went junior high all the way through college. And in college, when I encountered Bene for the first time, I was invited to go to the Nevada test site. Now, the Nevada test site is about an hour north of Las Vegas. Back in the 1950s and 60s, you'll see pictures of all the casinos, and then the skyline will be mushroom clouds up there. What the Nevada test site represents is nuclear testing, nuclear weapons testing. So on a Good Friday, this is probably around 1998, 99, somewhere in there, my friends and I and members of the Catholic Worker and Bene and everybody went to the gates at the Nevada test site. And we did a Good Friday Stations of the Cross with images, not just nuclear images, but images of violence around the world. one representing each of the traditional stations. And we prayed that together. And then we walked up to the line, and there was a sheriff, Nye County Sheriff deputy there. And we walked, literally, they have a line painted on the ground, on the road. And there's fencing that comes up to it. You're out in the middle of the Mojave Desert. And when you walk up to the line, the sheriff's deputy says, "You realize when you cross into here, you are trespassing on federal property." Yes, that'd be my answer. And you will be arrested. Yes, I do understand that. And then we walk across. Now, it wasn't like they handcuffed us and shipped us off to a jail, although they could have if they wanted to. But so many people since the 1970s or 80s have been starting to do this. And so it became kind of routine for the sheriff's department. Well, my friends and I, we crossed the line, and they have literally a chain link holding fence, one for men, one for women. And we would be out there until they processed everybody. We were probably out there for an hour or two, and then they would release us. The reason I did that is the sense of nuclear weapons. First of all, nuclear weapons. We know what it does to people, and what it does to the earth as well, and how destructive it is. Okay, sometimes there's the argument of, well, but we have nuclear energy. Okay, yes, supposedly it's clean. However, the nuclear waste that comes from that is radioactive. And also in Nevada, they have a testing site for storing nuclear waste, which Nevadans do not want, because they don't even rely on nuclear energy. But this waste, I forget what the half-life is of it. It's something like 10,000 years. So that is why I move forward, looking at a lot of times what Native people, Native Americans would look at. Let's think of the 7th generation. Let's think of 10 generations from now, and our responsibility of our actions today reflect on our descendants. Even though I'm a religious brother and celibate and I won't have descendants, other people will. So I have to keep them in mind as well. So I did it once on a Good Friday, and then one time on a New Year's Eve, I was out there again, and Father Louis Vitale, Franciscan, who's been very much a part of Pace Bene, I got to do that action with him too. So I've been arrested twice and proud of it.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing on that. And I'm just so grateful to you for your work against nuclear weapons. It's really, really important work. And my last question is, what does nonviolence mean to you?
Mm-hmm. Very good question. So nonviolence, if you had a meme, would just have one picture and be kind of one-dimensional, maybe two-dimensional. I think it's got to be even three-dimensional or four-dimensional. Yes, nonviolence, what does it look like? Well, it looks like everybody is living in harmony, but that's out there. Nonviolence could also mean that there are no wars between nations. That's good, but that's still out there. Nonviolence could be that neighborhoods or different racial groups or identifying groups are not combating each other. That's good, but that's still out there. I guess my point is nonviolence doesn't mean a whole lot unless it starts in the heart. And I look at my experiences of reading about Dorothy Day, on how she had the revolution of the heart. She went through an entire, I don't even know if it was called, you can call it a conversion necessary. I guess it would be a conversion or a metanoia experience, just a turning. Being co-founder of the Catholic Worker Movement, having been in one position and then really feeling it deep down. So nonviolence for me is, first of all, looking at my own reactions to anything, okay? If I'm getting angry, I have to ask myself, where is that anger coming from? If I receive an email from an irate parent, because here at Saint Viator High School, we are doing an initiative working on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they're asking, why are we looking at busing Black students into the school? My initial reaction is like, severe anger. Okay, I get really ticked off with that. But in my nonviolent training, in my not that I'm really well trained in it, I would say, but in my nonviolent stance, I have to investigate, where is that anger coming from in me? And am I going to respond in a way that's just as angry to this parent who's irate? If I am, then I'm not acting nonviolently. But if I can take it into prayer, if I can take it into my centering space, if I can know that what I am doing or what I am feeling is righteous, is based on promoting what Jesus would bring out into the world in a creative, in a unitive, in a way that a healing way that brings people together, then probably what I'm doing is a little bit more based in nonviolence than my own gut reaction. And it's important for me to have a community to talk to about that, to understand where I'm coming from. So it has to start from the center. Then I need to make sure that the people around me who are like-minded can affirm that, and then we move forward, and hopefully there's peace in the world.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I loved what you said about nonviolence being creative and unitive and healing. That's so beautiful. And thank you so much for being here with us today. It was amazing to have you.
You're welcome. Thank you for all the questions, and it's been a lovely experience.
Thank you.